Good afternoon, everyone. I think I got it today. I was paying attention. This is good. It is Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 3 o'clock p.m. That means it's time for Women and Business. I'm so glad that you're all with me today. I have a wonderful guest that I've been trying to get on this show now for what seems like forever, and we finally managed it. So I'm really excited about that. I also will apologize in advance if you see me messing with my ears. My earbuds don't seem to want to stay in my ears today. I don't know why that is. But if you see me suddenly go like this, I'm not listening to the voices in my head, well, any more than I usually do. I'm just trying to keep my earbud in my ear. So I will try to avoid doing that if I can. Anyway, my guest today is Katie Wubben, and Katie is the owner of Trouble Me Knot Embroidery. A lot of you will probably already know her because she's a marvelous educator for the industry. She sells Melco machines, embroidery machines. She's at DAC, she's at Applique Getaway. We love her, we know her. I'm going to bring her in because why are we wasting time talking about me? So, yay, Katie!
Hey! Such an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here finally. I've been waiting for this for so long. So there's so many things that I want to talk to you about. And as I said to you before the show started, one of the dangers of doing this show with someone that I consider a friend and I know in real life, as we say, is that you tend to have this kind of shorthand for things. So I'm going to try to be very aware of that today, that we have had conversations that other people don't have. And Cindy says, hi, Katie, I met you at AG.
Hey.
And the AG crew was strong on the page saying how great you were. So
they were so awesome. They were easy to inspire, and what a really awesome group of people that I met there. Just awesome.
They were. Well, and they loved you. I mean, the tree crew is proof of that. So
yes, my tree crew is my special crew. Hopefully we can add some limbs this year.
Ooh, I like that. That was a very smooth kind of invitation there, I guess is the word I want to say. Yeah. I like that. But before we get, because I also know us and we can go off in like
derail
tangents and then it's like half an hour later. So what I wanted to start talking to you about first is one of the things that you mentioned to me before the show that I really, really liked was women in your life that influenced you and have helped you to get to where you are now. And I wanted you to talk about that for a little bit, if you would. So who's influenced you?
More than I could ever list, but I think that it's important to recognize, because I'm assuming we have people on both sides of the fence here where they're influencing people without knowing it, and they're being influenced by and they may not even realize that influence and what it has on them. And until, there was some people that early on influenced me in ways that I didn't recognize until decades later. Strong person in my life who has influenced me in a lot of ways to be a strong woman and to kind of set lofty goals and not stop, probably almost too stubborn to stop with some of them. But she, throughout my life, she always held one full-time job that was the staple job that she worked from 18 on up until retirement. And she did what they asked. If they needed overtime, she was there. It was just what she did. And then into my teenage years, she was always holding 1 to 2 part-time jobs on top of that full-time job.
And good Lord.
Yeah. And I was along for the ride for some of them. I took dance lessons and on a weekly basis, 1 hour class each week. And she would do service master cleaning for companies. And so she had a company, a car dealership or something that she did cleaning for. And so if I finished and she wasn't done, then I would chip in and help her with, because the faster we got her job done, the faster we got to go back home. Sure. If I had homework, sometimes I would sit in the doctor's office. She cleaned for a while and I'd do my homework while she cleaned the doctor's office. But basically, some of what she did, she sacrificed a lot to give me kind of cushy opportunities like piano lessons and dance lessons. And but then also she made me aware for sure later in life that those things are important to have because they help you learn how to control yourself and or your, they give you positive things to focus on that really help you through some other things. One of the things that came from dance lessons I would have never expected was it gave me really good core strength and balance. And when I broke my leg and my right arm, opposite ends, I was able to navigate on my own and get myself in and out of a wheelchair and transition from couch to wheelchair and stuff. I wouldn't have been able to do that, and so it's just interesting sometimes how those little nuggets that these people give you, continue to kind of give you a dividend on what you learned. But so when it came time to start my first business, I told my mom reluctantly kind of what was on my mind. She tends to be on the pessimistic side, devil's advocate kind of person. And when she said, I told her what I was thinking, and she said instantly, without thought, I think you should do it. I said, what? And she said, yeah, I think you should do it. What a better stage of life you could be at than one that you have really nothing to lose, and you have the most ambition you're going to have. Go for it. And I think she did that because she knew I didn't want to be a factory worker like she had been. It was a lifelong goal to not do that. And I think she knew my personality traits well enough to know that I'm not going to do well in a mundane, rule-filled world. And so to be, the ringmaster of my own, I think she really knew best that was a really good option. And so she supported it right away and was really influential in keeping me moving forward that first couple of years of challenges. So, and then she also encouraged me. We talked a little bit about Girl Scouts, which I don't know if you want me to kind of come back to that or not, but that is another activity she put me in that really gave me some very strong life skills that I use to this day, every day. So, but at any rate, a couple of other very influential women in my life have been, I had a cousin who owned a local restaurant. Everybody knew her, little town, everybody knew who she was. And I needed a way to generate some of my own money beyond babysitting. And so I asked her, hey, Diane, is there anything I can do to earn some money with you? And she was building a house and running her business at the same time. And so I was like her little shadow that just kind of was everywhere with her. I would shop with her. I would work at her house. I would work at the restaurant. Whatever I needed to do, I did. And that gave me this really cool view of what running a business was like, because I saw outside of the business life, the challenges. We would literally be at her house working on something, one project or another. And then, we got to go. We got to get to the restaurant to do lunch hour. Okay. And then we'd run up there, we'd do that. And then we'd, maybe get a meal in, and then we'd go back and continue whatever the path we were on. And then, when we closed at night, she would do the books and daily deposit. And I would sit with her while she did inventory orders and see that whole process and watch her schedule, making the schedule up, and then trying to figure out what happens when somebody has a, reason they can't show up, they're sick, whatever, and how to handle that, how to juggle that. And so I got this really, really cool view of all of the things that employees don't see, customers don't see. And some of the stuff was pretty ugly. One of the circumstances was she was dealing with a dishwasher who was taking tips off of tables, and the fury in that woman and watching her handle that. And the she was a precise, well-spoken woman. She told me to stand up for, if something needs to be said, you say it. And sometimes it comes out, and it doesn't matter if it's pretty. If it needs to be said, you say it, and you handle it, and you're in control of your business. And the skills, I wish she was here so I could tell her, the skills she gave me without realizing she was giving me on relationships, on business, on everything. It just phenomenal skill set. So,
well, and what an amazing, because one of the things that I talk about a lot is that a lot of people want to start a business, but they have no idea realistically
what it is.
What that means. They think it's going to be, I'm going to be my own boss and I can go and take a vacation anytime I want and I can work 4 hours a day
Right.
and that's going to, and it's like, that's not what it is
No.
at all.
No.
But I mean, what, because you were like a teenager then, weren't you?
I
when you
wasn't
were
even
working
quite
with
a
her?
teen. I was 12. And
Wow.
so, yeah. And she loved being a lovemaker. So she would pull these little strings. I had a crush on somebody who worked in the restaurant, and not right away, but I developed a crush. And it was funny because now I realize that she pulled the little puppeteer strings and had him go to the house to help me do yard work, which neither of us realized. We're both just raking leaves and having fun. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute. Diane she's never had you do house stuff before. Why are you here? But then pretty soon she's like, have you kissed him yet? And so, I mean, literally every scope of life, I could say she influenced in some way or another, but yeah. And
that's
she got to
adorable.
watch me start my business and help it. She was very supportive of it. And, I don't know if she ever really truly understood how much of what I gained from her is used every day, just because it was normal to her. She was, just doing the normal day-to-day tasks that you do as a business owner.
Yeah, but that's awesome though, that she took the time to, let you work with her and to teach you stuff. And I mean, I'm sure you were a huge help, but still there are some adults that would have gone, this is a 12-year-old kid. What do I need with this?
And she never treated, I would say that's the thing, is never underestimate. And that's why I really can't stress enough. Everybody influences somebody,
Sure.
you don't recognize at all who you're influencing half of the time or more. And so if she had treated me like your everyday 12-year-old who, immature, whatever. I mean, sure, I definitely had my immaturities, but I grew up.
Well, you were 12.
Yeah. I grew up quickly and I handled more than the average. I would say I was more in line with the 15, 16-year-old mentality by that point. But that being said, she trusted me to do very responsible tasks. I mean, I was taking the bank deposit. I don't know how much was in that sucker, but it was, sometimes more than one bag. And, so I had responsibilities, and she taught me to take them seriously, and to be accountable. So
that's awesome.
And when I was old enough and I got put on the schedule as an official employee and was, waitressing and doing things, it wasn't uncommon for me to hold more weight than some of the adults that worked there. I mean, she really, between my mom and other family members, the work ethic that she built in, the expectations and are very valuable, because as a self-employed person, not necessarily a successful one, but somebody that is going to thrive, you need to be able to hold yourself accountable and not take advantage of that cushy flexibility that might be there. Obviously you do too much with that and you kind of slice your own throat, but she definitely taught me to have a very strong work ethic and accountability and all that. And then I have to talk about one more.
Go ahead, one more.
Because it's just a whirlwind of differences. So my mother-in-law was actually she said she didn't want to marry a farmer, but she married a farmer, and then she divorced the farmer and she kept the farm. And what that meant for her was a lifelong hard work. I mean, that woman always could be seen out on the tractor plowing the field. She loaded the planter, threw the bags of seed, 50-pound bags of seed around. She did. I mean, the hard work that woman did is just an inspiration. And I would say that I already had that seed there, but she fertilized it. That just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you can't do, X, Y, Z. If there's something that you want, you do it. And I remember one day, when my husband and I were dating, I was over while they were doing field work, and she came in the house and was just upset. And she's not an overly emotional person. And she was crying. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's happened? And she mustered up and was able to say that the wheel had fallen off the combine in the field.
Ooh.
This is a setback that, I mean, garment decoration, or to put it in perspective, it'd be like having 1,000-piece order and your inventory not show up. It's
okay. So we get the severity then.
Yes,
Thank you.
this is bad. You've got crops that need out, and the only way to get them out is your one combine, and it's sitting in a heap. And so she broke down. She had her moment of taking it in and processing it, and then she said, like, if anything, she could be this bull that just faces everything head on. She's, this isn't going to stop me. And they figured out, she implemented help from her kids, and, they figured out a way to get it fixed, and they actually fixed it right out in the field, which isn't ideal, but that's what had to be done. And then she carried on with harvest and got it done, and so and she later had her leg amputated just below the knee. And she wanted to still be active in the labor of the farm. And we told her, this is just, it's not safe and it's not practical, but fighting her to get her to just stop working. She's just that personality of, I'm going to do it, and so what an inspiration to have in my life to, just an advocate, absolute advocate. She's always so proud to say, what I do, and that I was in charge of my businesses and stuff. So,
well, that makes a huge difference, I think, to have women in your life that are just good examples and that treat you like you can do it too. I think that's a huge thing, because and it really kind of kills the stereotype of women are competitive and women are, which I think is a bad knock on women that we get a lot, that, oh, we all compete and we're all catty and we all want everybody else to lose. And it's like, no, I know a lot of women who aren't that way.
Right. I would say there's a personality trait, and it's not specific to gender.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are people who are going to feel
it's
like
just
if
in their nature to cut people down. But I would agree that I would have, and choosing who you surround yourself with,
it's hugely important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've got, I can't say often enough how wonderful my village is, because you not only have people that inspire you, but the people that when life isn't great, help pick up the pieces and put it back together. It's important to have those.
It is. And I think it's important too, to just remember and pass on the lessons that you've learned from these women that were influential. Because I know, like, I talk about my grandmother when I talk about women who were influential for me, my maternal grandmother. And I still try to pass on the stuff that she taught me, because I kind of feel like if I do that, then her spirit is still with us,
Yes.
And I think that's
what a wonderful blessing to be able to keep those traits alive,
Yes.
You take the best parts of the people that helped you make you, and then you help build other people with those traits.
Yeah. And I think that's important, but not to switch the subject, but you mentioned Girl Scouts earlier, and I want to hit that because I was a Girl Scout up until I was like 14 or 15. Went through the program from brownies on through cadets, and I found it really, really valuable. I think there were a lot of really good lessons that I learned, responsibility and, telling the truth and being accountable. And I don't know, I could list others, but what did you find how did you find that experience of being a Girl Scout?
So I would say that at first it was, at Daisy level, I don't really remember a lot because I was pretty little, but I was Daisy on up through, I don't remember, teenage years of some nature. I don't remember when exactly, but the biggest thing that really sticks out in my mind is Girl Scout camp. I got to go to camp every summer, and I would always sign up for the longest program I could do as an age group or that I could afford. If they would have let me go to camp all summer long, I would have done it happily. I loved it. And I'm not sure exactly why, but other kids would get homesick and be crying because they were homesick, and I cried when I had to go home.
Yeah.
Because I just, I loved the arts and the crafts that we did. I loved cooking outside and learning how to, do all of that. And it was just a wonderful experience, making new friends. One of the coolest experiences I think about it is to get to know on a very deep level in a week's time, to build friendships that were very sustainable and very supportive friendships. Because when you're in school, you kind of are stuck with the same crowd the whole way through. And this let me meet new people and bond with people differently, which was awesome. But one of the things about that is my mom, obviously being a hard worker, and she supported the family on her income. She was very supportive of me going to camp, but she said, you have to pay your way. And so what that meant is you're going to sell a lot of nuts and cookies. And so we would get our sheets to do our sales, and I would hit the pavement that very afternoon and fill up at least a sheet in the first few hours and go get another one from the main district leader. Sure. And she would always hand one over, and she'd say, do you want one or two? Because she knew I was going to fill them. And I'd say, why don't you just give me two? That way I don't have to come back. And I actually got not scolded. It was requested of me after a few years to just give the other girls a chance, just back off a little, because there was some girls that their own grandparents wouldn't buy from them because they bought from me, and they bought so many they couldn't buy more. And they said,
that's too cute.
And I said, no, I've got a job to do, and my job is to sell as many as I can. I'm not going to back off. They need to step up their game. And so but I sold, my mom had a Suburban. And so, think the back end, you could fold all the seats up, and the whole back of the truck basically was open bed. And I sold so many cookies that they were stacked boxes high to the ceiling of it and all the way back. And usually we could get the full load in there, but sometimes we had to make more than one stock when it came time to deliver them. And in hindsight, I'm pretty sure she spent a lot of money on gas hauling me around to sell. She probably could have just paid for camp on what it cost to go selling. But ultimately, the responsibility that taught me, it was my responsibility to calculate what was owed. I had to hold the money. And one time I dropped my envelope in the snow, and we were sick looking for it because there was hundreds of dollars in there. And, and I understood, like, Mom's not going to just give me that money if we can't find it. We've got to find this money. And if we don't, I've got to find a way to get the money, because I can't go back to these people and say, I'm sorry, I lost your money. Can I have more? You just don't do that. And so the experiences that came along with, like you said, that building of character, but then also the accountability and the responsibility that's paired with it. And then the friendships that were made through it, and finding a lot of very, very inspirational counselors that, are not a lot older, but old enough to be at a different stage of life, and they could influence, things. But ironically, I ended up, my mom didn't really prepare me for this stage of life. And I was at camp, and I felt so sick. I just couldn't hardly move. I just felt awful. And what's going on? And I was just terribly, terribly not well. And then I went to the bathroom, and blood everywhere. I got my blood for the first time. And I swear it was just meant to be that would happen, because of course I had peers that were willing to, oh yeah, I've been through this, and then counselors, and then on top of it, you know how that works. It kind of spreads like a disease. So by the end of our week, our entire cabin had our peers.
Oh no. I bet you that was fun.
Oh, it was, and most of them were first time. So, yeah. So to say, what I learned at camp or what I learned through Girl Scouts, it's endless.
Well, I have to agree with you, because, I want to do a couple of comments here first. First of all, Evil Cindy is eating her Thin Mints right now.
Thin Mints are the best.
Oh, I have a box in my freezer, actually.
You guys are terrible. I can't even eat them anymore because I can't do the gluten.
God. And Evelyn says, good for you. Go get them. Builds good character. But I remember the same thing you did. My troop, when I was a junior, so probably like 5th or 6th grade, we did a trip to Washington, D.C. with our troop. but we had to earn the money, same as you. So we did cookie sales, we did bake sales, I don't even remember what all we did. A lot of shit. I can tell you that.
You worked your time off.
Yeah. And we ended up taking the trip, and I have somewhere, I don't know where it is now, there's a picture of all of us in front of, I think it's the Washington Monument or something. And it was like, that is one of the seminal moments of my childhood, is figuring out how to make that happen and then making it happen. And what that taught me is if we all work together, we could do amazing things.
Yep.
So I can't speak highly enough of the Girl Scout program. I really can't. I think it's a great program. And if you have a girl, or, Boy Scouts, if you have a boy, it's
really, and I think too, it's important because a lot of times the leaders, I bonded with my leaders I had were safe people that I trusted, that I could go to if life gave me something that I didn't want to go to my mom with, or, having those kind of mentors along the way that you can comfortably and safely talk to and help navigate the ugly sides of life, I think is really, really important too.
I agree. And I will say, you've probably heard me say on this show before that, my dad and I don't always get along. He was my Girl Scout troop leader.
Really?
When I was a cadet. So imagine this man who was quite good looking, who was working with a bunch of adolescent and pre-adolescent girls. But he did it. I mean, he did the whole thing. He took us camping. He ran the meeting every week. He got all the letters to Mrs. Tony Shreve because everybody thought he was a woman. And he did it.
How amazing. My mom was a Boy Scout leader.
So well, there you go.
Yeah. It's, it's just kind of, if there's a need, and I would say too, that, if you haven't been involved with a group like that, just because you don't have a kid in the troop either, doesn't mean you can't do it. I did. I handled a second grade troop. I entered as a leader in second grade and took the girls through that year because nobody would stand up and do it. And, I thought, come on, really? So you've got 14 girls that want to do Girl Scouts, but no leader. And so as a new business owner and full-time college student, I took that on and I don't regret it a bit. It was a wonderful blessing to be it was hard, but it was worth it.
Well, and I think that's one of the hardest things for these programs is that, especially probably more so now than maybe when we were in Scouts. I understand you're younger than me, but I mean, there's so many demands, and there's so many things that parents have to navigate that maybe when I was growing up, they didn't as much. I mean, both my parents at different times were Scout leaders. So, and I appreciate them immensely for that. So I definitely think that, if you can support the Scouts in some way, even if it's just buying the Thin Mints.
Right. Or even being, for outings and stuff, they need chaperones. You have to have a certain ratio of adults to kids, or a driver. If you can even do, one thing a year for a local troop, the impact that can make, because it's hard to find those volunteers.
It is. It really is. And it's sad when there are kids that don't get the opportunity because they can't find people to make it go.
Yep.
So I really agree with that. And I like Kylene's comment here too. She says, way to go. Definitely great skills to learn young that you can bring into adulthood. And I think that's totally true. So I want to talk now. I'm switching subjects. Notice the nice segue there. It was lovely. About something that you and I have in common, which is minds that are always making plans. Maybe that's the kind way to say it.
Yes, the busy mind.
Yes, but I want to talk about this because we've had conversations about this in the past, about the fact that we're both ambitious. We both tend to think big. And then you have I don't know what I want. I don't really want to call it the fallout of that because that sounds negative, but you have the consequences of that.
Right.
Maybe,
I think consequences is those can be good and bad. Yep.
Yeah. Because I mean, on one hand, yay, we're ambitious and we want to do things and we want to make stuff. But on the other hand, I mean, you have it a little harder than I do because I don't have a spouse and I don't have children. You have a son and a spouse. So how do you have you just kind of given up on the idea that things are going to balance, or do you just recognize that this is, I think I'm finally starting to make peace with the fact that this is just me and that maybe some other things in my life aren't going to be as important or as visible, but that I don't know. That's how I'm justifying it. How are you justifying it?
Well, I think that it's kind of an interesting, very, very big question you're asking.
Because, it is. I understand that.
The first part of this I have to analyze is, do I have balance of any sort? I'm not, and so I'm analyzing that. And I would say that my balance doesn't tend to be like this equal thing. It's generally like this and like this. So in a course of a year or a course of a month or a course of a quarter of the year, at some point, family is the high end, and at some point, business is the high end. And I tend to have a hard time getting them to really level out. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I need to. It's kind of like when my son was really little, and started on solid foods. I'm like, okay, gosh, all he ate today was fruit. And then tomorrow, gosh, all he ate was vegetables. The next day, all he ate was meat. And, at a certain point, I talked to his doctor and I said, how critical is it that I get him to eat all of the different foods in a day? And they said, well, is he eating his vegetables? Oh, he loves his vegetables. Well, is he eating his, yeah. Is he getting protein? Of course, it's just full days of this and other days of that. And they said, why are you worried? I said, I don't know. And they said, as long as he's getting that variety over the course of a week on average, there isn't a worry. Okay. So that's kind of how I look at the balance between family and business is, am I eventually giving both time and effort and inputs, and so days might go by where I don't really have that one-on-one time with my son all day long or part of the day even. But then on our homeschool days, like we have, I'm a homeschooler because I'm crazy in head, which I love homeschooling. And I never thought I could do it or that I would love it. But it turns out that it has allowed me to actually balance better because what happens is we have a homeschool group that gets together every other week on average. And when I have a day of that, it is his day. It's mom and Messiah day. Like all day is about us spending time together. Only 2 hours is actually our homeschool group, but the whole day is dedicated to us. And so that makes me feel better about the other days when he gets minutes of me or, maybe my quality time with him is I'm going to sit here on my computer and you're going to sit there on yours, very little interaction. But I think it's really overwhelming to try. And I used to try and fight for that balance to really look like this. And it just, my husband works 4 days on, 4 days off. So I try to maximize his work days with work, on my side too. And then on his days off, try to do something with family. And I try really hard to force him to, accept that it's okay to send Josiah away so we can do something just us sometimes too, which he feels guilty about because he hasn't spent the full time with him. But it's hard. It's really hard. And I also more recently decided that it's okay to not meet every demand on business side if the family side needs me, And it actually has caused, it's stressful to not manage my business the way I need to, but at the same time, I will never regret being there for my family either.
Sure.
So I don't know. It's a struggle.
Well, and you did something that I thought was really clever, which was you have recently done a couple of trips because you travel to train people and for other things where you brought the family with.
Yep.
So
which has its own challenges, but
but
if it's approached right. And what, biggest thing there is making sure my husband understands and I set boundaries on what portion of the trip is work and then which
Right.
portion is family time, and making sure that they have something. Because the first time we did that, it was really hard for him to go and do his own thing because he felt like he was leaving me out. But then if he sat and waited for me, he's wasting time he could be enjoying. And then he'd get
Right.
bored, And so I said, look, there's going to be things that you're going to do that, yes, I'd like to do also, but it's okay, because we also get to do these things that all of us enjoy.
Right.
So what we've done is created a list of, here's the things that I'm okay with missing. That way, if you want to go and do those, I'm totally fine. And then I own it. When he tells me about the fun, whatever, I have to say, I'm so glad you guys had fun, and I have to mean it.
Right.
And then I try to focus on that work side of it during that portion of the trip. And then when it's our time, I try to not be on my phone or responding to emails. And that might mean after they go to bed, I'm up until 2 a.m. doing that stuff, because it has to still happen. But it didn't take away from the time I said is their time. So I found that really has helped. And then it gets to be that really beautiful, yes, it's a work trip, but I shut down for those couple of days and we have that family vacation built into it, which is really fun.
Well, and I love what you said about you figured out beforehand, because I think that's a great tip that, okay, these things I'm okay if you go do these things and I'm not there, and I will be okay with, and I will be accepting of that and positive about that. And then these things I really, really want to be a part of. So please don't do those without me.
And that helps.
I think
them
that's a
really
huge tip.
too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's also, I mean, what a lesson this is for Josiah too, in that he's getting to see how you navigate all this stuff, and how you also navigate being a good partner to someone who's running a business.
Yeah.
Because your husband is a sheriff, is he not?
He's a city cop.
He's a city cop. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, he has his own stressors and other things, but you have
sometimes, I think, I don't remember where I'd read it. Somewhere along the line, I came upon this concept that I really felt helpful to me. A lot of people view marriage as 50-50, and parenthood is 50-50. Everybody's got to have 50-50. And the thing is that's BS.
You can say bullshit if you want.
All right.
It's all right.
Bullshit. Because the reality of it is that's completely unrealistic. To think that we could maintain that, it's not realistic. And so what this article, or wherever it was that I had read this, said, sometimes you're going to carry 70% and he's going to carry 30%. And then another time it's going to be a 60-40, but the other way. He's carrying more than you, and then you flip. And that to me really is what it is, because especially in our lifestyle, we currently, with how we're doing things, on his days off, he does more parenting, and on his work days, he does less parenting. And we're both very involved with the parenting side of our lives, but not necessarily at the same immediate time. So, and that's where I think just managing realistic expectations and understanding. And you mentioned that I've said it 100 times. I don't know how you put up with me. I don't know how you love me. I have to be difficult to love because of that transition. So when I'm business, I'm not available like the average mom or wife would be, and that works for us. But if it didn't, obviously we'd have to reevaluate. But I think just setting realistic expectations of each other and being supportive. He's very supportive of my goals, knowing what that means. He doesn't like me being gone, but he likes the results of I'm happy with what I'm doing.
Sure. Well, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't get, is that when you get involved with someone, and I realize I'm speaking about this stuff as a veteran of numerous really horrible relationships, but one of the things I have learned is you can't go into it thinking this person's going to be a different person because they're with me.
Right.
You have to go into it thinking this person is awesome and I want to share my life with them just like they are, if they're never different than they are, because I'm a veteran of the whole, I will change them with my love.
Yeah. Now, I would say, though, that people do tend to change, but not in maybe the ways we expect or want or whatever. Life changes us and we grow. Hopefully it's growth for the better that causes change, but Yeah,
like
it's an interesting, but I think too, you had mentioned it's important to demonstrate that communication and support to, your kid. Even if Mark said something that I don't want as a discipline type of thing, I will address that later, but I will back him up because he, to demonstrate that we're both on the same page is very important. But then also, you mentioned teaching Josiah, like when he gets to go on a training trip, I make sure to identify and tell him, so he fully understands this is part of how I make my money to support our family, to buy the things that we want, to be able to go where we want, like at Christmas time, we went to Wisconsin and spent some days out there doing really fun things. And, he understands that, when we extend a trip and we stay in a hotel an extra night, that comes at a cost. And he understands that how we do that is we make money. And so when I am gone for a week-long training trip and he doesn't get to go, I try to remind him of that. This is, I don't have to work every single day like normal, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever. But I do have to do this. And this is why, and I think he understands it pretty well. And I think it's really important to shine a light on that.
Well, and that's a valuable thing. I mean, he's getting the same kind of training you got from your cousin in that he gets to see it right up close. So when he gets to where he's choosing what he's going to do, he has, and he may decide he wants to live in an office or he wants to live in an office. Listen to me. He wants to be in an office.
He will be.
Well, but he might decide that maybe he wants to be one of those people who goes in and works for somebody else and they go 8 to 4 and they're done and they're out. And I thought I wanted that, but I can't, I don't have that in me. I wish I did, but I want to hit some comments here real quick. Lauren says, what is this balance thing you speak of? We don't know, Lauren. Kylene, I think, is talking about when you were saying that the balance in the marriage is, 60, 40, 70. It's usually not 50, 50. And Yosta would like you, if this will go, would like you to make a book about the time planning stuff so he can make his wife read it. Thank you for your fantastic energy. And let's see what else we got. Oh, big comment from Eric. Let's see what Eric has to say. It's always the case that there will be cycles, troughs and crests in any segment in our lives. Those won't always align between us and our partners, between our careers as well as our moods. Same goes for business partners and friends. It takes choosing to reinforce relationships. And as usual, Eric comes in with the big comment, but very profound.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do think I have to say about the friends, every friendship is very much like a marriage. It's just, you don't make that legal binding contract or religious contract with them. But I've got friends that, I very much feel, one, they've helped support my business, but two, they've suffered the consequences of being my friend as a business owner. Because, sometimes commitments can't happen because the inventory showed up late. And now I can't do what I was supposed to do. I can't help you repaint your bedroom or whatever because, something didn't work out quite right. And I think, I don't know if that happens to you guys as business owners, but to me, it's like this roller coaster where you have a plan and part of the track just is gone. And you're like, great. And now I have to be late. I mean, my husband has suffered more than my friends, I would say, because it's obviously you have more commitments and plans and whatever. But I couldn't tell you how many times there was a wedding. We were supposed to go to the reception and I had to do this decal install that day. It took way longer than it was supposed to. And he got really upset, and it's like, what do you want from me? I can't just not finish my job. This is how I make my living. And I couldn't forecast everything that was going to happen. And I told him flat out, like, you can go, just leave. I'll join you when I can. Instead, he waited, got irritated, and that was in our dating days. And we've identified that one, probably that wasn't real good of me to even plan to do that project that day because my life means all kinds of things don't go right. That's just part of who I am. An example today, I've got E-Track supposed to be coming for my trailers so that next week when we load to go to Kansas, Dax, it's less awful than it was last year. And we have an easy tie down situation. And the tracks were supposed to be here 2 days ago and they're in Kansas.
Oh,
It's
no.
supposed to be in Iowa.
That's not good.
No, UPS delivered them to the wrong place. And so now what do? Well, I said, you know what, Mark? I said, I've been a ringleader of the shit show long enough to know we're going to get through this. So we're looking at the tracks coming on Tuesday, and he'll install them, and we'll load, sometime on Tuesday, probably at midnight.
Oh, boy.
But
I do not miss those days. Can I just say that? I don't miss
to be fair, I ordered this stuff well in advance to where we
You did.
and so I just can't stress that enough, just having those friends and family members that truly understand that, just like you can't plan illness in the family with a child that takes you from your job, you can't plan the unknowns of life that get slung at you as a business owner. And you're like, well, got to deal with this today,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Well, I want to answer this. I don't know who this is. I have my suspicions, but I can't see a name. It just says Facebook user. People still do that. Anywhere is my office.
Yeah.
Hashtag solarpreneur life.
Uh-huh.
I like that. Well, we're getting close to the end here. This always goes really fast, which makes me sad. But I do want to talk about, since I have you here and there are people listening, you will be at DAX Kansas City and DAX Chicago. Yes. And what are you teaching, Ms. Katie?
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. So I'm doing a night shift class, and it is it's funny how the 4-hour class sounds intimidating, but just like this, it's like we get done and they're like, it's over. I try to pack it with so much content that it overflows, like life. And but what it is focusing on is taking and representing your products online. So not necessarily as just selling, but just representing, just to create attraction, but then also how to, really sell them online well, if that's the choice you choose to go with. But, anything from Facebook posts to clickable links to sell to Etsy platform type stuff. And then we're going to actually really dive into taking good product photos and learning what goes into a good developed title and description, and how to really, really take that and run with it and make your product sell or be, if you have a post online, the goal is interaction, get people to click on it, get people to go to where they need to buy it, or bring them into your store. If you're representing just for foot traffic, how do you do that, and how to do that effectively? So I'm really excited. The attendees are encouraged to bring an item that they've decorated so that we can actually set up like in a little mini photo booth to actually practice taking photos and to practice writing a description and title. So I'm really excited about that hands-on time that I'll get with my attendees, and then the brainstorming and the, whatever will come up, the blossoms that are unknown, that'll come from this. So,
oh yeah, there's always something in the class you don't expect. But what I love about this is that this is such a foundation skill that you need if you're going to successfully sell anywhere, really. Yeah. And to be able to be in a room and get the nuts and bolts of it is just such a huge thing. I mean,
well, and to think past, even though it is geared very much for online, I use these skills that I'm going to be teaching in my local theater ad. I use these skills in my newspaper print ad, because the way that you represent your products anywhere needs to be done very professionally. And if you look at my first work and compare it to now, it's laughable, the difference. And I hope that in another 5 or 10 years, it's laughable, the difference between now and then. Right. Because I always want to improve my skill set and learn how to not just draw attention to the business, but then turn that attention into profitability. So,
right. Well, and I think I have to just pause on this point for a minute, because you said, it's, if you looked at the stuff you did in the very beginning to what you do now, there's a big difference. Carolyn Cagle pointed this out to me a couple weeks ago about what I wore and how I looked when I first started doing this show versus what I wear and how I look and how it all goes now. And I was like, damn, I learned shit.
Yeah, right. Recognize, yeah. And then to see the improvement that brings to your show, it's not something you'd think about. And maybe not even something that people would notice and be able to identify why it's better now than it was before.
Right.
But it does make an impact.
Well, it makes an impact. And it also, I think, makes it made me feel good because I was like, okay, I'm taking this seriously. I got better at
You
this.
see growth.
There's growth, and this is like, it's a thing as opposed to, oh, this is just some little fun. No, this is like a thing.
Right. The other
Which
class,
I know, eloquent of me. This is a thing, but
the other class that I'm teaching, I'm super excited about too. It is next level embroidery. So taking the, kind of I'm a problem solver. And as you know, Christine, well, actually, you know this, and some people may know this happened, but we were at a trade show together and, problem solver alert. We were trying to figure out how to make these little cubbies blankies really, really pretty on both sides, because which is the front and which is the back? You embroider it and you kind of trash one side, but it's very visible. And so Christine and I at the trade show did, that's where the backsided applique technique that I'm teaching came to life. So it was born.
And actually, this is a bad link, but go to YouTube and look up Trouble Me Knot Embroidery and you will see a video of us, I think, talking about that.
Probably, yeah.
I actually saw a video with me in it and I was like, what the heck? Where did that come from?
Yeah, because we were like, this has to happen. When? Right now. So we did it. And, the pictures I took, the videos I took from that were pretty sketchy. The lighting was awful, but it was cool to record that moment of this little brain nugget coming to life. And so those type of techniques are what I'm going to be teaching in that next level embroidery. And it can be really geared towards the crafty side, but then also the business production level techniques that are fast to produce and kind of trendsetters, things that your competition either hasn't done, doesn't know how to do, or won't do because they don't think it's practical. And I can teach the practicality of, you need 50 of these. Here's how you do it in a production friendly manner. But then also, you can offer things to your customers that your competition just isn't going to do. So,
and I love too that you made the decision to. There's been kind of a void on the supply end of things at the DAC shows for the last couple of years for reasons that I ain't going to go into because we all know. But anyway, you kind of stepped up to the plate and said, okay, I'm going to start taking this on. So you'll have cubbies at the show, you'll have thread at the show, you'll have bobbins at the show.
As long as the bobbins get here, we'll have bobbins.
Well, yeah, and I actually have been kind of crossing my fingers for you on that because I've been seeing a lot of places that Philtech's been having issues with supply. So
yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm told the chances are good. So we're going to cross our fingers, but we will have our shelves super full of lots of good stuff. And it is important. One of the things I'm working on currently is getting more samples made so people can actually touch, feel, and see the different backings used on different fabrics and how they support,
I love that.
A fill stitch. Because the thing is there's no one right way to do any one job, right? I mean, there's a lot of paths that you can take to get there. And so it's important to me to not only supply quality products, but also to kind of show, because if you have preferences in the feel or the look or the pliability, you can see that. So I'm hopeful, again, fingers crossed, that I'll have those things done so that you can kind of get your hands on not just the backing, but the backing when it's been used, so you can see this is really, the support job it did with this or whatever. So
I may have to talk to you because I'm working on a book about stabilizer and I might hit you up for some pictures.
Absolutely. I'd love to help with that.
Well, I want to hit some more comments here. Eric says, glad to be able to see you out there between teaching my classes too. I get you on the 4-hour class. I'm trying not to overpack this intro to digitizing.
We're both terrible at that.
Well, and I adore Eric. But yeah, he can, if you watch the take up, the man does an hour show that regularly goes an hour and a half.
Right. And it's probably 3 hours worth of content that you can watch a few times to soak it all in. Yeah.
He's hugely. And Vicky says about your how to sell photography class. What a fun class. I wish I could be there for that. Vicky, I will say this. There might be somewhat of a possibility that a class with similar themes could be happening at a trade show that you know and love.
Yes. Can I expand on that from my perspective, Christine?
You may.
Okay. I love to teach. Teaching an applique getaway last year was, I can't even describe how fun it was to have a room full of such passion. The education level there it's DAX is great and it's very professional and it's fun, but the passion level with these gals.
Yeah.
And I should clarify, I had one guy in the room and he put up with me referencing the 28 or 29 women in the room compared to the one guy. He handled it great. But I would love to go back and teach again. And I think that, one of the things I'm working on is I always get people that approach me after the classes, whether it's immediately or within a few days by email or something like that. Is there other learning opportunities you're offering? Because I really just love your teaching style, or, the content was very valuable to me. When do you have more? And I'm like, you'll have to wait till next year. And I'm done saying that. So right now I am in the final stages of launching my online training platform. And I've decided that we're just going to launch it and it's not going to be done. But is it ever? Is it ever going to be done?
No, it never is.
Always going to add content. So I'm just launching, and the launch is going to maybe evolve into different things, but ultimately it will have everything from embroidery basics training, how to properly hoop your item, how to deal with tension troubles, how to identify, what's causing that ugly bird's nest that's not in the tree outside where it belongs.
Right.
And my goal is that it is very, very similar to my teaching style in person, and that it mimics, because part of what I think people enjoy is the pace and the relatability in delivery. Sure. So all of that can be expected on the online platform, and it will have the embroidery side. It'll have business basics. My goal is to take the experiences I've had and the knowledge I've built, that foundation of knowledge, and if it can take the trouble out of embroidery or business for people, that's my goal. So
I love it. And I'm going to just throw up real quick here. If you want to see where Katie lives online, you can go to troubleknot.com. That is her website.
And it's under construction.
And it's under construction. And you should also go and follow her Facebook page, or like her Facebook page, or whatever the kids are saying these days. Because I'm sure you will be putting up information about what you're offering in the videos. And there's also some Facebook Lives there that would be very helpful. So follow the YouTube page, follow the Facebook page, and, bookmark the website so you can keep up on all that's happening. And I'm hopeful. Vicky says, yes, I'm a total newbie. Life happened and I haven't had time to dig in and learn all the things. And I love it that the learn all the things hashtag is actually like becoming a thing.
I think it's really important. I just want to throw this out there that everybody was a newbie once. And what a wonderful place to be at, the level of which the only way to go up is, or the only way to go is up. And you recognize that, hey, I need to learn some stuff. And when you approach it that way, that the vast, endless opportunities of where you can take yourself by gaining that knowledge is so incredibly powerful. And it's such a neat thing to be able to inspire people through that I'm calling it the threaducation. So I'm really excited about having those opportunities online. And then, it just pairs with, I don't think I will ever not want to do the in-person classes because they just are so fun. But I love that, it's not practical if you miss the class because your schedule just doesn't allow you to go or whatever. The nice thing with the online side too is you can review those classes if I've taught content in person, but you just didn't soak it all in because I overpacked it, which is what I do. Then you can go and review it, or go, they're very like step by step. So here's a file to download. Here's how to do this. Now you actually go do it right now, so that it's very much learn it and then do it so that it applies the knowledge right away. So,
well, I know, having been friends with you and been around you in trade shows and watched you in action, I know what a great teacher you are. So this is going to be huge for the industry. And of course, anything I can do to help, I am more than willing.
Well, I am looking forward to extending some special, I'll need some people that kind of test things out as we get launching going. And I think that some of Christine's followers might be good candidates. So,
oh boy, this is like,
so
this is like catnip that you just threw out in a big pile in the middle of all these people going, hey, you want to do some stuff everybody else doesn't get?
Coupon. Catnip sounds like a good one to me. I mean, you mentioned it.
That's
maybe
funny.
That should be our coupon code that we use when we're ready.
Catnip. That's funny. I love it. Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, let me know what's happening and I'll help. I'll spread the word. I'll do what. We've already got one. Evelyn says, me.
I think catnip is perfect. I can't wait. Don't let me forget. That's going to be our Christine follower coupon code is going to be.
Oh, Carolyn says thread nip.
Oh, well, that is good. Oh, I do like that. Yeah, that's probably, I do like that a lot. This is why we have to have a village.
We have to have a village. And that's the fun part about the village is that everybody helps and they throw out their ideas and we all collaborate. And I hate to say it, but we're at an hour right now. And if we start talking about the next subject, it's going to be an hour and a half. And while I love Eric and his long shows, I know that you have other things on your plate and I do too. And so we probably shouldn't do that. But thank you so much for finally being able to do this. Yes. I'm so glad. And like I said, if there's anything, Jeff, stop being an instigator. Jeff always wants bonus time.
Okay, humor me. What was the topic that we're passing?
I don't even know now. There were a couple of them, but I'm not bringing them up because what will happen.
We'll schedule another date and then we'll.
Yes, or well, I'm not going to be at DAX this year, so you won't see us together at DAX. But if you come to AG,
there we could do like we should do a live thing.
We could do that.
Yeah.
We can certainly do that. And also there may be opportunities in the future that I can't talk about yet for us to do some things, but and Adam's going to have to catch the replay. Well, certainly tell Adam he should definitely watch this one. All right. I'm going to stop with the comments now because I need to see, it's like thread nip.
We got to use thread nip. That's a good one. I love that. Yep. Absolutely.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm. Anyway, thank you so much. It was wonderful. I appreciate everything. And next week, I ain't sure what's happening yet, honestly. And I just said ain't, and I'm sorry about that.
You've done it twice now.
I know. I'm not sure what's happening next week, but it'll be good. You should watch. It'll be fun. Trust me.
Yeah.
All right. I'm hitting end broadcast. Bye, everybody.